Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Sunday, February 17th, 2019, 6:25 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So I got a little bit of a late start today. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do a show or not. Had extra busy things come up. So I do have a life, believe it or not, or at least I try to. So, what we're going to do today, I'm going to try and keep it short. I'll see how much energy I have. We have another new day's worth of methane to data to show you from CAMS. We showed you yesterday. We looked at Thursday's data from the 14th, and today they added Friday's data from the 15th. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at earthquakes, and if we have time we'll look at a few comments. I'm getting so behind on comments. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with discussing comments or not. I like it because we all learn together, and it's a way that everybody can participate. But, I'm going to try, but I may not be able to cover all the comments all the time. So, I appreciate your comments and the insights and the research and the reports from all the different places around the planet. And I just love all of you being here with me on this journey. So let's get going here. We have Friday, the February 15th pulled up, and we have the Arctic view and surface level. And so this is where it ended on Thursday, with the methane release moving across, coming up through the sea ice, and it's actually darker than we've seen, and it's in an orange color. It's in this orange, moving into this orange range, which is 2,080 parts per billion parts of it. So it was also spreading out to the coast of Alaska and approaching Canada and Greenland in the actual data. And there was a red release moving over into the Laptev Sea, and some release over here in the Kara Sea. And then this dispersing was coming out of Siberia and moving across. And then this building from the North Sea between the UK and Norway was getting ready to release. So that's where we ended with the data from Thursday. And so it's a little jerky the first time through, and then it smooths out. And I know someone in the comments said that maybe the wind was blowing it, and that's why it's coming across in waves. I tend to think that it's more release coming from the surface, and that it's actual because of the way they measure, and we see these patterns, and so I tend to think that it's more actual release coming up from the ground or from the underneath the sea. If other people have thoughts on that, you're welcome to comment, but considering we're looking at surface level, and that's supposed to be within 1,000 feet. Okay, now in this forecast period, we see it releasing all the way across Greenland, and now it actually comes up to Svalbard and kind of peters out, and then it comes down through Canada, and and then it spreads out through Siberia, and then see it's building. There's another buildup here, and there have been comments about the coal mines. Yes, there's lots of mining. They do have open pit coal mines in Siberia. I did a report on that recently with the black snow, so that could be another source of this methane, along with the permafrost, or for whatever reason. And then it's releasing here. This big buildup is moving around from this North Sea. See, it kind of just comes up and around through Norway in the forecast period. So as it cycles through, I'm going to stop it at the end of Friday so that we can see what the actual data right there. That's what it actually did, and that's where it ends on Friday. And so what they're forecasting is another build-up here, and this dissipating on out. So through the forecast period, which will be through Tuesday. So I'm not going to spend a lot more time over here on cams. I'm going to put that as a backdrop. Well, it's taking its time. I'm going to pause this while I do that. Well, for whatever reason, cams they might be updating or something. It's not responding now, so at least we got that little part in on the methane. So let's move on over to our earthquakes. We're looking at USGS, all magnitudes for the last 24 hours, and we're seeing 133 on the map worldwide. We're seeing some pretty big circles here, especially this one. This was a 6.4 that came in this morning at Papua New Guinea. So if we look at 2.5 magnitude and higher for the last 24 hours, is showing 40 on the map. So that's pretty good number. Let's start with this one down here. 4.8 near Saiha, India. This one came in at 6:58 last night Pacific time. All of these times are Pacific time, and it was on the land there. Then that's the only one that might be going to fall off the map while I'm doing this report, it looks like. But before we get into this whole report, I want to go over to EMSC and show you some other earthquakes that are going on worldwide. Well, here's the European area. We see two that happened over on the coast of Portugal. It looks like here's a 2.4 and a 2.7, and it's good for us to see these others occasionally, just to remind people that just because the USGS doesn't show anything under a 4.5 magnitude internationally, it doesn't mean that they're not happening. Here are some little ones. This is the last 24 hours, and it's 19 earthquakes on this map, and they're showing now this larger one, this 4.9, is on USGS, and this 4.5 is on USGS. But we see here's a 3.6 off the coast of Greece. Here's a little one, 2.5, 2.0, 3.3, all near Greece there. Here's another one, a 2.0. Here's a one moving on up. Maybe I'm confused. 2.9. Let's see where that is. Oh, that was Turkey I was looking at. I am confused. These big ones or larger ones were over by Greece. So these are off the coast of Turkey. So here are the Greece ones, and then here's a little one, 2.7. Here's one in the Caspian Sea that was a 3.8. Here's one in, I think it's Kyrgyzstan. This was a 4.3. And then if we look worldwide, we can see this looks pretty similar to USGS. There are just some smaller ones, like a 4.3 down here at the tip of South America, 4.0, 4.0. So they do show smaller ones as well as the larger ones that we see over on USGS. And then they have the list down here too. So this is another good source of tracking earthquakes. So let's go back over to all magnitudes, and let's just start over here in this Greece area since we're looking here. The first one was a 4.8 off the coast of Gefyra, Greece. This one happened at 11:07 this morning, and it looks like it was just to the northwest of Laconia. And then there was a 4.4 near Latakia that came in at 1:40 this afternoon in the Mediterranean Sea again. And then moving on down, we saw this one in India, a 4.8. We already saw that one. Now, down here, Indonesia is rocking. Here's a 4.2 in the ocean near Taiwan, Indonesia at 1:26 this morning. Moving on up was a 4.6 near Malibagu at 2:23 this afternoon, 70 kilometers deep. Then a 5.0 near Bitung at 5:18 this afternoon, 70 kilometers deep. Then here's 4.6 near Lowengal, Papua New Guinea. This one came in last night at 8:03 p.m. And then here's our big one for the day. It was a 6.4, and it was on land, but it was so deep that it didn't. They reported it as a tremor, a 6.4 tremor, and supposedly there was no damage and people felt light shaking. This was near Namatanai, Papua New Guinea at 6:35 this morning, 367 kilometers deep. So, you know, and this was on New Ireland. That's the name of this island here. And I've seen conflicted reports on whether or not there was a tsunami warning. So it's not listed over here on the tsunami warning list from USGS. So I guess it was because it was on land and so deep. Normally they have to be more shallow to cause tsunamis, generally speaking. Okay, now moving on over into the Fiji region was a 4.7 at 10:03 this morning. Very deep, 594 kilometers deep. Then there was a 4.8 near Nadoy Island at 11:22 this morning, 539 kilometers deep. These are quite deep and will cause movement around the planet. But this one's even deeper, a 4.6 south of the Fiji Islands at 2:07 this morning, 614 kilometers deep. So these deep ones is what will make these tectonic plates shift, and we'll see magma moving as a result of these deep ones on the other side of the world. So here is, now as we move on up, here's a 4.7 near Bosco, Philippines at 12:36 this afternoon, 171 kilometers deep. Next, off the coast of Japan, was a 4.6 near Izu Islands at 4:03 this afternoon. Another deep one, 490 kilometers deep. Then here was a 4.8 also off the coast of Japan, Mito, directly east of Mito, but they're saying it's near Kataibaraki. This one happened at 11:21 this morning, 36 kilometers deep. Then up here, off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia, was a 4.4 that happened at 9:01 this morning, 38 kilometers deep. Now while we're here, let's go ahead and look at Hawaii. There has been activity. We have 13 showing up on the island today. The largest one is this 3.1. Remember we saw a 3.3 or something over here? So now we've got one over on this tip, this northern tip, near Kapau, Hawaii at 2:04 this morning. And then we've got more activity. I'll just call them off. 1.7, 2.0, 2.3, 1.9 at minus 1.1 kilometers depth. That's at Kilauea. 1.8, 1.9, 1.9 at a minus 0.1 kilometers depth at Kilauea again. 2.0, 2.0, 2.3 at a minus 0.6 kilometers depth at Kilauea again. 2.3 and 1.9 at minus 0.2 kilometers depth at Kilauea. Look at all of these 7 all in this Kilauea crater area. This is the rim of the crater, so these are right inside the rim. So I watched Dutch Sense this morning, and he seems to think that Kilauea is building again. That's his thought. So it didn't stop down there. Just because it slowed down doesn't mean it stopped. Then down here in the South Atlantic Ocean, we've got a let's get that one, 5.0 near South Georgia Island region at 3:29 this morning, and then a 5.1 near Bristol Island, South Sandwich Islands at 3:18 this afternoon. Then down here on the southern end of Argentina was a 4.3 near El Calafate, Argentina, at 2:26 this morning. And then here's a 5.0 near Yotu, Argentina, that happened at 5:22 this morning. This could have caused damage if it was in a populated area. So there's that. Then here's one right off the coast of the Honduras, a 3.9 near Tela, Honduras, at 1:02 this morning. Now let's move over to the British Virgin Islands. We have 14 showing up here today. They're in the high 2s or low to high 2s and 3s range. There's a 3.0. We're still seeing it kind of swarming up here north of Puerto Rico. Here's another 3.0. Those 3.0s seem to be happening right up there. Here's another 3.0. So those are not big enough to do damage. Here's a 3.2. But it's just showing movement. So let's see, where do we go now? Alaska is our next stop as we make our travel around the world. We're seeing 34 all magnitudes here today. So the number has gone down. Remember, it's the weekend and a lot of the earthquake makers are not at work today, and a lot of them will be having tomorrow off as a United States holiday, being President's Day. So we've got 7 showing 2.5 magnitude and higher. I'll call these off. 2.5 Anchorage, 2.8 Talkeetna, 2.7 Talkeetna, 2.8 Anchorage, 2.6 Talkeetna, 2.8 Willow, and 2.5 Cantwell. And so obviously the rest of those are under 2.5 magnitude. So there's that. Now let's move on down to the lower 48. Of note, first of all, is this one in the New Madrid seismic area, a 2.2 near Pocahontas, Arkansas. This one came in at 12:11 this morning, 14 kilometers deep. Then there was a 2.9 near Fairview, Oklahoma at 2:45 this afternoon. Then a 2.1 near Conway Springs, Kansas at 4:42 this afternoon. Then moving on over into Nevada. Well, let's look at Yellowstone. Nothing is registering in Yellowstone or Utah or Arizona today. That's calmed down. Over here in Nevada, we've got a 2.0 near Warm Springs. We've got just a few small ones here and there. Like I said, it's pretty quiet for the weekend. I'm not going to call off all the little tiny ones. You can just see them. But here was one near Gardnerville, a 1.1, and then a 1.3 across the border. Then we've got 2 on the line here, 2 here. A lot of pairs, as we've seen before. We're not seeing any in the Mono Lake area. We're just seeing one in the Mammoth Lake area, a 1.3. Here, and just small ones coming down, 1.6, 0.8. Now here's a larger one. Here's a 3.4 near Tehachapi. So that's one of the larger ones. This one happened at 3:36 this morning, 5 kilometers deep. And then down into Southern California, we're seeing here 26 on the map today, and I think these are all under. That was that Tehachapi, the 3.4. And so all of these are in the low range. These are ones and under. So we're not going to go into great detail on that tonight. Now we're going to come up the San Andreas fault line. Here's a 1.8 near Parkfield, 1.9 near Pinnacles, 1.9 near Pinnacles, 2.1 near Tres Pinos, 3.7. This is the big one for California today. This one happened near Yountville, California at 1:55 this morning. 8.3 kilometers deep. This is kind of northeast of the San Francisco area, and it's northwest of Napa. And then at the geysers, there are only 2 today. Well, let's see if there are any. 2.2 near Anderson Springs, and 2.2 near Cobb. Cobb is at the geysers. This Anderson Springs is near there. So it's very quiet up there today. Let's see if there's anything else in California. That's it. Oregon is clear. Let's see what's going on up in Washington. Here's a 1.0 near Desert Air, Washington at 1:17 this morning. I think that's it. That's a wrap. Oh, did I miss this one? Here's one in Oregon. 0.9 near Diamond Lake, Oregon. So let's zoom out and see if anything major came in. Of course, if we go to comments, we can always come back and see if anything else came in after or while we were doing comments and finish up. In fact, I think we'll do that. Bitung, Indonesia, we saw that. Okay. So that went pretty quick. So let's see how far we can get on comments. Maybe we can get caught up today. You never know. So we're back a couple of days, starting with Sensible Hair. And these are under my climate news and methane and earthquake report from a couple of days ago. And Sensible Hair says permafrost could be melting everywhere now. I agree. I think it is melting everywhere. In my humble opinion, we are in the midst of runaway global warming. I agree. Not good, and from here on in, none of it is good. Live in the moment, folks. Do the things in your life that give you the most happiness without hurting your fellow man. I totally agree, Sensible Hair. Thanks, Margo, and yes, I enjoy your daily show, even if the news is not the best. So, thank you, Sensible Hair, Thanks for your comment and being here. Future A to B said, it looks pretty bad with those huge methane releases now. I'm wondering if it will be less from a certain area when large releases have been going on for a period. What's the main cause? Is it trapped methane, or is it microbes producing methane because of fast increasing temperatures in the ocean? It's all of the above and then some. It's everything, and we've discussed it before. All you have to do is go back and look back through the videos, and where we've discussed it, it's all of the above. So yeah, it looks bad, and as it gets warmer, there's going to be more, because the microbes just keep coming. They just keep coming. They're not going to stop. And there are microbes everywhere. And it's funny, I was thinking about this. We think about places like Greenland, where there's so much ice or glaciers and snow, and the Antarctic, where it's snow and ice, and where it's just like permafrost and things like that. And we think that just because it's cold that there are no microbes and no germs, and we don't realize that the whole earth is being bombarded with all kinds of debris from outer space, and debris from comets and solar winds, and all these particles that are coming in from outer space, and also from what's in the atmosphere and just flying around the atmosphere. And then with the wind, and if it rains, it comes down in the rain. If it snows, comes down in the snow. And so there's all this stuff, and we're getting new microbes and new things, all kinds of new things from all over the place all the time. And so just because it's frozen doesn't mean that they went away or it killed them. They might have just gone into a dormant state, and then as it's melting, they come back alive. So I just had that thought. And then there was some discussion, I may not read all of this, from Colin Shaw. Colin says, it is reported that dangerous bubbling and oozing gases and abnormalities are popping up all over the Antarctic ice sheets, and various sections of ice, green in color and varying. They are said to be very toxic and obnoxious in nature, and causing deep concern as to its cause and effect. Would methane be part of this strange and weird breakout? And I don't really know, I don't know what article Colin is referring to, and so I can't really comment until I see the actual article, and I haven't read that. And I did a search, and I could not find I couldn't find wherever Colin read it. And so I said, Colin Shaw, do you have a link to an article to report describing this that we might read? And then there was some discussion back and forth, saying he'd seen it on Facebook. He'll try and hunt it down, and then he went back and couldn't find it, etc., etc. And then later on, he did come back and say Australian Antarctic Division are saying that dangerous amounts of CO2 are in areas that have recently been frozen ice, and greenhouse gases also. Thanks for your very informative reports, Margo and Patience from Western Australia, Perth. Well, so that's a different comment, so that's not a follow-up from the other one. So But again, so thank you, Colin, for that report. But, if people have links to articles or research that they've done, rather than just saying, oh, it's been reported that, or I saw a picture of this or that, because everybody's looking at different sources, and, we're not all looking at the same thing. And so, if I don't know what you're talking about, I can't comment on it. So, but thanks for being here, Colin, and that's just, in the future, if people have a link to their source, if it's not something that we're familiar with, if you see it on Facebook, go ahead and go to the article and then save it, or go ahead and post it over here so that we can all look at it together. So that's just an idea for future. And then Robert Forsyth, and so thanks, Colin, for being here, and thanks for reporting. Robert Forsyth leaves 3 comments. He says, biological action and organic matter under anaerobic conditions. Yes. Margo, if you have time, you might want to check out the other 2 ice caps, one Antarctica and the third at the highest mountain peak of our planet. Well, Robert Forsyth, I suggest that maybe someone else might like to take that assignment, because they might have more time than I do, because my focus is pretty narrow right now with doing the methane and the earthquakes, and I don't have a lot of time to do a lot of extra research at the moment. So if someone else would like to take that assignment, that would be great. And then Robert Forsyth says methane production in dead winter. Yeah, I mean, it's happening. It's absolutely happening. So thank you, Robert, for your observations and for being here. And then Sharon Thorpe says, hi, Margo. Hi, Sharon. Thanks for the latest lesson and update. I like watching the long videos in various parts of the day here in York, UK. Well, I'm so happy that you're getting benefit out of these, and yeah, if it's too long, just watch it in parts, and that's what other people do. So thanks for tuning in from the UK. Thanks for being here. And then Off-Grid John. Now we're up to my report from yesterday. Off-Grid John gives me a thumbs up. Thank you, John. And then Troy Turton has a couple of comments. A lot of oil rigs up in the North Sea could explain the methane release. Yes. And then he was the one that asked, prevailing winds must be blowing it that way. Well, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I tend to believe that it's methane being released from the surface, like it says. But thanks for being here, Troy, and your thoughts on that. We just don't know. We're not there measuring this stuff ourselves. Victor Cohenberg says, yesterday it was the hottest 16th of February ever recorded in the Netherlands. Welcome to the new world. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Thanks for being here, Victor, and thanks for reporting. Sensible Hair says, thank you, Margo. You're welcome, Sensible Hair. DDSB says, thanks, Margo. You're welcome, DDSB. We already saw that one from Colin Shaw. Nostradamus, aka Dave from the UK, says, and he's responding to Troy's comment about the oil and gas in the North Sea. Nostradamus says, yes, Troy, huge deposits of oil and gas beneath the North Sea. Further to the south, where the methane appears to be coming from, is a subsea area known as Doggerland. Before the end of the last ice age, it connected Britain with mainland Europe and was covered in rich vegetation originally tundra and marshland, but also forest before it flooded. Here is a link to a more detailed article if anyone would like to investigate further. And this comment is perfect. This is perfect, and Dave, aka Nostradamus, gets an A for his report today with, description and having a link. This is how he did his research, and we can go look here, and it's from Live Science, and click that off, and it's from December of 2018, and it says thriving plateau region that slipped beneath North Sea 8,000 years ago reveals its secrets. So if people want to learn all about what's underneath the North Sea, they can go here and read about Dogger Bank and off the east coast of England, and it says they hauled up cores of sediment from the bottom of the North Sea, etc., etc., etc. And so I appreciate this research and bringing this to us, and this is exactly how I like the reporting to be done, for people to just give a little synopsis and say, if you'd like to learn more, just put the link, and then it's here for us all to see. And so this could be a source of that methane, especially as the oceans are heating. It's, the microbes are coming up or making that methane release, or producing methane, in fact, because all of that stuff is decomposing down in there. So there's that. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you very much. Then Marcia Noren checks in. She leaves a couple of comments. She goes, "Hi, Margo." "Hi, Marcia. Checking in from the waterlogged California Central Coast. The atmospheric river has finally passed through, but El Nino conditions have been declared, as if we didn't expect the warming ocean currents to destabilize the jet stream." Well, we're glad you survived all the water and the flooding over there. It's just been awful. And we got snow last night, and it snowed all day today, and it's snowing a little bit again tonight. But not a whole lot. And then Marcia leaves another comment. She goes, "The 3.1, meaning earthquake, near Quincy was close to Taylorsville, population 150, where I built a small vacation home on Mount Jura in 1996. Fossils, mostly tiny sea creatures from the Jurassic period, are embedded in almost every rock you pick up on that property." And then a quote from USGS, "Quincy, California has a very high earthquake risk with a total of 1,973 earthquakes since 1931. The USGS database shows that there is a 83.97% chance of a major earthquake within 50 kilometers of Quincy, California within the next 50 years. The largest earthquake within 30 miles of Quincy, California was a 5.7 magnitude in 2013. And then she leaves a link to USGS, and this is the this was the 3.1, another 3.1 from December of 2018, showing where it was. So thank you, Marcia, for reporting on that. We certainly appreciate that. And apparently that whole northern area of California is very earthquake prone, and it's old volcano region, and So it's you know, the earth is quaking and shaking and quaking. So thanks for checking in and sharing that with us, Marcia. And then Robert Forsyth leaves a couple of comments. Margo, I did not know this before, but there are quite a few coal mines in Siberia. Yes, I know. I reported on that, Robert. Especially the open pit coal mines. I would bet this process will produce methane. Yes, I reported on that too. Also, there was an article of heavy coal dust released from its production. They're having problems, but I bet this will mess up satellite images. It could. So, yeah, thanks for that observation, Robert. And then, Robert, this is our last comment. He says, just a point of some condolence. There has been many extinction level events. Humans survived, and the last event was even more catastrophic and fast. Our civilization and all those things we consider normal comforts will be gone. Might be a good idea to study up and get acquainted with survival. Well, you know, that's to each their own. If people want to do that and spend their last few days and weeks and hours doing that, they certainly can. I don't care to spend my time doing that because in my mind, once all the nuclear power plants blow up, we're all going to be dead within a matter of months, and so there are too many factors in my mind that because of industrial civilization and because there are so many people on the planet, more people than ever before with this coming on, and with the industrial civilization and all of the ways that we could die and everything, that this nuclear is what's going to do us in, along with the methane. And the ozone layer will be stripped, and when that happens, there won't be any breathable air. So, but for people who are optimistic and young and have a lot of energy and are in really great health and don't want to give up, you know, they can certainly get their survival skills in order, and maybe they'll survive longer than those of us who don't have those survival skills, and I'm sure they will. So thanks for that observation and comment as well, Robert, for those of you who are so inclined. And I've got a little bit more energy. I did look at 3 articles because I was trying to find where Colin Shaw was talking about the green and stuff, the bubbling up from the Arctic, and I didn't find anything specifically to that, but I did find some interesting articles. I've got 3 that I can share. This is from Daily Sabah Environment, and it says, and this is from January 9th, 2019, melting icebergs emitting tons of methane into atmosphere. Now, I didn't know this. I didn't know that icebergs when they melt, they emit methane. But it makes sense, because if they have microbes on them and they're melting because they're getting warmer, then, you know, the microbes are, you know, it's all methane. So it says a new study conducted by scientists from the University of Bristol suggests that melting ice sheets release tons of methane into the atmosphere. Scientists camped for 3 months next to the Greenland ice sheet, sampling the meltwater that runs off a large catchment of the ice sheet during the summer months. During their observations, the scientists discovered that methane was continuously exported from beneath the ice. They calculated that at least 6 tons of methane was transported to their measuring site for this portion of the ice sheet alone, roughly the equivalent of the methane released by up to 100 cows. With Antarctica holding the largest ice mass on the planet, researchers say their findings make a case for turning the spotlight to the south, and so on and so forth. So then they talk about the huge amount of methane that's trapped in the Antarctic, and that as that starts melting, huge releases of methane will be coming. So that's a short article, so I thought that was interesting. The next one was from Newsweek. And this one is from, oh, what's that? It scared me. The sound came on, it scared me. I hate those advertisements that come on, and I just hate those. It just scares the crap out of me. This one is from November 15th, 2018, and it's Tech and Science. Radioactive rocks under Antarctica make an area of ice the size of Rhode Island disappear. Now this is an old report, fairly old report, but this is just a reminder that there are radioactive rocks underneath warming everything. There are also volcanoes. They discovered like over 90 new volcanoes underneath Antarctica. This came out last year when they imaged everything, and they found all these volcanoes underneath the Antarctic, and a lot of them are active. There's one underneath the Pine Island Glacier, and they're thinking that's why it's melting so fast. So this was so what did I here's the picture of the ice layers, and then they were imaging, and then here's where it's melting, the heated water, and here's the hot rock, and this is from the water that comes in underneath the ice. And so the process of melting, we observe, has probably been going on for thousands of years. I'm going to close that. Or maybe even millions of years, and isn't directly contributing to ice sheet change. However, in the future, the extra water at the ice sheet bed may make this region more sensitive to external factors such as climate change. Well, we've got that. So, here's why I chose this article. The findings followed research last year that showed there was a huge mantle plume beneath West Antarctica that appeared to be melting the ice from beneath. Published in the Journal of Geophysical Research Solid Earth, the study found the mantle plume produced almost as much heat as Yellowstone supervolcano, and was responsible for creating huge lakes and rivers beneath the ice. So there are lakes and rivers beneath the ice. It's a whole landscape underneath there. It's not just solid all the way down. So I thought that was interesting. And then one more article, and it's almost at the hour mark. That's about my limit for today because I've done a lot of stuff. This one is from National Geographic. They always have great articles. And it says, and when was this? Oh, this is old. It's from August 31st, 2012. But it pertains to right now. It says Antarctic methane could escape, worsen warming. As glaciers melt, gas could belch into atmosphere, study suggests. Swamp gas trapped under miles of Antarctic ice, a chemical souvenir of that continent's warmer days, may someday escape to warm the planet again. An international team of researchers report in Nature this week. The researchers suggest that microbes isolated from the rest of the world since the ice closed over them some 35 million years ago have kept busy digesting organic matter and making methane a much more effective greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So that's what I was talking about. If global warming causes the ice sheets to retreat in the coming decades or centuries, the researchers warn, some of the methane could belch into the atmosphere, amplifying the warming. Another person that's reported on this is Sam Carana. He talks about methane in the Antarctic, so people can look over there too. Gemma Wadham of the University of Bristol, England, and her colleagues have not actually detected methane-producing microbes under the Antarctic ice sheet. They haven't detected methane either, though they are participating in drilling projects that could do so later this year. Yet a top journal has now published their analysis of the potential climate impact of those undiscovered microbes, and that says a lot about the paradigm shift in microbiology in recent decades. And the presumption is that microbes are everywhere. In the seething water of an undersea volcano, obviously. In the crushing pressure half a mile or 0.8 kilometers under the pitch-dark seafloor, demonstrably. Under a mile or two of Antarctic ice, why not? We've seen a few unconfirmed reports already, and why wouldn't some of those bugs be producing methane? You've got bugs, you've got organic carbon and sediments, and there's no oxygen because it's so far from the atmosphere. When you put all these together, it's perfect for the production of methane. It's like a huge wetland. While waiting for a drill that could take her there, Wadham has done her best with a chainsaw. For years she's marched up to the leading edge of glaciers in Antarctica, Greenland, and Canada and sawed off cubic foot blocks from the base of the ice, blocks that include sediments picked up by the glaciers as they advanced. Wadham shoves the blocks into sterile bags, stows them in trunks full of styrofoam, cheerfully pays extra excess baggage fees, and prays she and her cargo can make it to her sub-zero freezer in Bristol in 24 hours. In the lab, she incubates small vials of melted ice and sediment for as long as 2 years, scrupulously avoiding contamination. The result? Every glacier where we look, we find microbes in the sediments beneath the ice, including microbes that are producing methane, albeit at slow rates. Those measured rates are what Wadham and her colleagues used to estimate how much methane might have been produced on the scale of the Antarctic continent. So this is a really interesting article. And then they say Antarctica has been at or near the South Pole for more than 100 million years, but for most of that time the planet was much warmer than today. Because the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was much greater, plant and pollen fossils confirmed that the continent was covered by forests and tundra rather than ice around 52 million years ago. There are even palm trees, fords, and large bays cut deep into its interior. So anyway, and then they talk about the rapid change coming to the Antarctic, and how as everything's warming, it'll destabilize the huge reservoirs of methane hydrate in the Arctic, which we know, and that there's also going to be a problem in the Antarctic. Carbon and anhydrates under the East Antarctic ice sheet, and a few tens of, oh, okay, here we go. They calculate there could be anywhere from 70 to 390 billion tons of carbon anhydrates under the East Antarctic ice sheet, and a few tens of billions of tons under West Antarctica. That's less than estimates for the Arctic, but in the same ballpark. So there's that article. So I will share links below. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Well, let's see if anything else has happened. No, nothing major. We've got some smaller earthquakes up in Alaska and California, but that's about it. So I will sign off for tonight. I do believe we are in the end times, and that time is very short, and I recommend everyone get your spiritual house in order, whatever that means for you, and get ready to exit the planet. I love you guys very much, and until next time, God bless you, go in peace, and good night.